Welcome to the 531, where we debate a top 5 list on a particular subject, further discuss it down to a top 3, and then eventually settle on a top 1. Now, after this beat, we'll get to today's subject. Fans, welcome back for another week of the 531, where we take our top 5 list on a particular subject, vote it down to a top 3, and then debate that top 3 down to a top 1. And this week, if Conrad listened to our podcast, he would be popping huge because we are talking belt designs. And Dave, do you think it'd be fair to say that to some degree, if you're a wrestling fan, you're a belt mark to some degree, whether you're a huge fan of the belts or you're just you like a couple of designs? It's one of the main things in wrestling.
I would say for the most part, yes, that's true. I'm probably an exception to that rule. I'm not a huge belt guy, believe it or not. I'm not a belt nerd. There are a couple belts I like. If you prod me, I'll go, oh yeah, that's got some nostalgia. I remember that. But I'm more, it's funny. I am a nerd when it comes to the idea of holding a championship. Even though, it's a predetermined sport, obviously, they know I'm a mark for that. I'm like, nah, man, we got to go with Roman Reigns over Paul Orndorff. He had the fucking belt. That means something, brother. But as far as the design, I'm in the minority. I just struggle with this list. It's not my thing. Sorry, Conrad.
I like that you like the fake championship, but the real belt that represents it, you're like, nah, I'm not a mark for that. Like, I'm a mark for the idea.
Right.
But I mean, when you do put the title on somebody, you're almost signifying that that's your top guy. That's the guy that you're behind. Yeah. And I could see where the idea of a belt would get you. Now, Tim Hartford brought us the first list, and he's got the IWGP belt, the NXT tag belt, the WWE Undisputed title, the Winged Eagle belt, classic WWE championship, and the classic IC belt with the white strap. Now, that differentiation is going to become important a couple lists down the road.
Yeah. Interesting you put the NXT tag belts in there. I don't think we're going to see a lot of those belts pop up, but I like it. And again, me not so much thinking of the actual physical belt. I start thinking about the great matches the Revival had with American Alpha and DIY. That's what I think of.
Back when the Authors of Pain were good, too.
Yeah.
Now, who do you got for your first list?
I got Randy Osgood hitting me with the Winged Eagle, Big Gold, the classic IC belt with the white strap, the Undisputed title, and the Smoking Skull belt.
Okay, those are all good picks.
Now, here's the thing, too. I'll let you in, and I'm not picking on Randy with this, too. Well, although I'm not necessarily a belt mark, you know what I don't like? The Smoking Skull belt. You know what I don't like? The Brahma Bull belt. You know what else I don't like? Spinner belt. I like classic, old school, straight up belt.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm sure there's got to be a certain section of fans that are really behind those belts that were identified with certain characters.
Sure. Of
all those belts, I think the spinner belt is the hardest to take, even though it's the funniest idea. As far as a championship, Bruno Sammartino didn't break his fucking neck to make the spinner belt a possibility down the road. Now, Mike Flynn brought us a list. He's got the Big Gold belt, the Winged Eagle belt, the IC title, but with the black strap that Macho Man had. He's got the IWGP title and the WWF tag titles that Demolition had.
So I think we're going to see a common theme that Big Gold and Winged Eagle are going to get on.
Oh, yeah, I'd be surprised if they're not on every list. They got to be on the next list you have, right?
Well, let's see. We got AJ. Of course, he's going to be the guy who's different. He's got the NWA TV title with the red strap.
Ooh, that's a good one.
That's a good one. He's got the FTW belt.
Okay. Hold on, I got a button for that. I thought that was crickets, but close enough.
All right, we got the NWA Golden Globe belt.
Okay.
Big gold. And then he's got NXT UK, classy as a motherfucker.
I gotta say, of the newer belts, of the newer WWE belts, that UK belt is something else. Now, I'm gonna bring you my list next because it's the last list I have.
Okay.
But I got the IWGP, I got the Winged Eagle, I got the big gold belt. I had the AEW title, but I crossed it out and I put the NWA TV title with the red strap because when you brought that up, I was like, ooh, shit, I got to have that on there. Chris Zauha would love that. And the NWA title that Nick Aldis has right now, the 10 pounds of gold, Sweet Charlotte, just seeing the way he conducts himself as a champ and has that belt, it just has such an air of legitimacy, and it almost feels like he's bringing wrestling from a previous era into the present.
Now, Joey, before we go further with this, we can edit this, I don't really care. Do you have a list from Scott?
I do not have a list from Scott.
Yeah, I don't think he got us one. I want to double check though, but I'm going through a bunch of shit right now.
That's fine. We took all these lists a couple weeks ago, and it's like a couple we got more responses on, and then a couple we got less.
I just found this, so we're good.
Oh, wow.
I know, yeah. But, all right, so I got a list from Scott here. He's got, this one ain't going to shock you, the first two one anyway. Big gold belt, Winged Eagle, and this is one where Scott went a little different. Lucha Underground Gift of the God Championship.
Ooh, that was a good concept for a title, definitely.
Yeah. WWF Intercontinental Championship, classic one. IWGP Heavyweight Championship, and an honorable mention, because it wasn't a real championship, the $1 Million Belt.
That's a good list.
I will finish off then, I guess. I got Big Gold. I got Winged Eagle. I got the TV title with the red strap. And I wasn't sure what you really call it. Well, hold on. I actually have the white Intercontinental belt, but the belt I wasn't sure about, but the one Nick Aldis has, is that Charlotte, that 10 pounds of gold? Because that's on my list.
That's what I called it. You could call it the current NWA title. I believe it's the classic NWA title. He's been referring to it as the 10 pounds of gold, Sweet Charlotte. So I've kind of gone with that iteration of it.
You know what I call it? I call it the belt of the real world champion, Nick Aldis, baby.
Ooh, that's a good title. Now, Big Gold and Winged Eagle are obviously going on.
Final two, no doubt.
IWGP was on a ton of lists.
Yeah. So was that classic IC white strap.
So let's put it up between the IWGP heavyweight title and the classic IC with the white strap. Now, this is almost a tale of two belts because IWGP would obviously have gained popularity within the last couple of years, and that's why it'd be in the forefront of all our minds. But that classic IC strap calls back to a time when we were like early fans, and it's got that more like sentimental time frame. So as much as I like the IWGP belt, I feel like the classic IC should go on.
Okay. I was going to put the IWGP to the next level because I thought, well, it's a little more different than the other belts. And at the end of the day, it's a very prestigious belt that is recognized as a world championship.
That's a pretty good argument. Now you're making that choice for the classic IC a little tougher.
Let's make it a little international. Let's have IWGP. It doesn't matter anyway because whoever's moving on in this case is getting fucking bounced.
We got the Big Gold belt up against the Winged Eagle belt up against the IWGP belt. And the top...
IWGP, you gotta go.
You think that's that's got to be kind of the first one to go.
Or if you're just listening to people, it's either Winged Eagle or Big Gold. That's what we're talking about here.
Yeah, and this is like one part of my childhood fighting another part of my childhood because just seeing Ric Flair with that Big Gold belt for so long and the impact that it made when he brought it from WCW to WWE, almost unseen in those times. But the Winged Eagle belt was like the champion of the company that I watched the most for the longest amount of time. So that has a lot of sentimental value in a way too.
Let's put it this way. Let's look at it from an unbiased point of view. That Winged Eagle belt, right? It was the belt, okay, Hulk Hogan. It was the belt of the 1980s. It is the belt that most people saw at wrestling's biggest boom period, other than the Attitude Era, right? It's the most recognizable belt, and it was in the beginning of that Attitude Era, too, I want to say. Now, that being said, this is an argument about belts, all right? This isn't necessarily about the prestige, necessarily completely. This is also about the presentation and the look of a belt. And to me, as much as I'm not a belt mark, if you sizing it up, there ain't a better-looking belt in the world than Big Gold. I'll put that belt up against any belt in boxing, UFC, anything. I'm a believer in the Big Gold.
And it's one of those belts that it's almost showy because it's obviously the Big Gold belt. But of the belts that they've come out with in recent times, it's almost not basic, but a little less involved than other belts. You know, like there's not as much busyness going on the front of it. It's just a big old slab of gold. And you know what that music means, Dave? It means the Big Gold took the gold this week.
Yeah, damn right it did.
And as you guys know, we are continuing to kick ass on the All Everything Entertainment Podcast Network. And come back next week to join us again, guys. Thank you very much.
Guys, thank you for listening to the 531 here on YouTube this week. If you like what you hear, you can always find us on Anchor FM, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Breaker, Overcast, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, and on the Apple Podcast where you can subscribe and also give us a 5-star rating. We appreciate you listening. We want your feedback, 531, and if you agree with us, if you disagree with us, we also want you to let us know. And let us know what your 531 would be. Come up with a top 5 and let us know, and we'll tell you why you're wrong. And in order for us to do that, please contact us on Twitter. We're at Fans Working. Facebook page, Working Fans Wrestling Pod. Email workingfanswrestlingpod@gmail.com. It's very important that you actually contact us on these platforms because we want this to be your interactive place to talk wrestling.